just for consistency, though it's not, holy cow, it's 7 o'clock and it's time for Tomo Talks. Woo! You can clap.
Yeah!
So I hope everyone had a great summer. There's no way we're going to compete with that nice weather. That's why we took a couple months off. And thank you. And before we begin, I just have a couple kind of housekeeping things. There was a survey that we kind of threw around over the summer. We got a lot of answers, really valuable stuff. The one thing I forgot to figure out, or maybe the benefit was that it was anonymous, so I got real answers. But the downside was a lot of people, there was a question that was like, would you like to volunteer? And there was a lot of like, yeah, I'd love to volunteer, but I don't know who you are. So if you are interested in volunteering in some way, just give me a ping. For example, VGM Cinematic, who is taking care of our live Facebook feed, offered their wonderful services and time, and thank you forever, and the beers are for you. They like water, though. And I think that's all I have to say right now. We are thinking about moving off of the Facebook platform into something else. I don't know what that is. If anyone's got an idea about how we can expand this idea beyond just Facebook, because
LinkedIn Premium.
So if you want a LinkedIn
Am I the only
Premium,
one on there? Okay.
So if anyone's got any ideas on stuff like that, I'm not quite ready to go, let's be a not-for-profit, but this keeps growing. We might have to move down that direction, which is exciting. And with your help, it might happen. And with that, we have a great lineup today. I'm very excited about this. We have our good friend Alon and the magical people over here, who he will do his introductions for. They were the closest things to mentors that I had, so this is a very nice, wonderful one of those. Without further ado, I will pass it off to this wonderful gentleman right here.
Hey. Cool. Thanks so much for coming, guys. So I'm Alon Isuchanu. I'm a director at Reactive, so I know some of you guys, but I don't know. There's a bunch of you I don't know, so thanks so much for coming out. And I also want to mention really quickly, shout out to Project Spaces for lending us the space to do this. So if you are a freelancer and you're looking for a co-working space that's amazing, you're sitting in it right now, this is the place to be. So yeah, I just want to give you guys, before I let you guys chat, I want to give everyone a little bit of a history about IAMSTATIC. Really quickly. So Ron Gervais and David Green are also known as IAMSTATIC, a directing duo and also a one-stop content production studio producing award-winning projects for film and television, commercial, advertising, and immersive and digital content. So I don't know if you guys caught that. It's award-winning work. Which, like, to me means that if somebody hires you and you don't win an award, you give them a refund. Is that how that works?
No, it means it's their fault.
Oh, it means it's their fault. No takebacks. IAMSTATIC started in 1999 as an art and design collective. Back then, a bunch of pals from art school started playing around with design and animation using Flash and After Effects and posting stuff on the internet. It was the Wild West of motion graphics and programmatic art making, and people were known by their .com names, and it was great. And you guys still, I assume, are on ICQ as well. Needless to say, things have changed since then, but Ron and Dave's love for this type of work has grown even greater. Through the years, IAMSTATIC has evolved and reinvented themselves several times, which is something we're going to talk about today. And over the years, have produced some incredible projects, including the main title sequence for Guillermo del Toro's Crimson Peak, Netflix Frontier, as well as commercials from Mazda, BMW, Views, most recently collaborating with OK Go's Damian Kulash on a crazy Asus commercial. I don't know if you guys have seen it. I think I may have posted it on the Facebook group. So Toronto Motion Meetup friends, please welcome Ron and Dave from IAMSTATIC. Thanks for coming out. I hope that was accurate.
That was very educational.
Very good,
yeah. No fact checking.
Yeah, I meant to talk about how you guys joined the Communist Party and all that stuff, but I didn't put that in there. So before we get started, because one of the main topics I wanted to discuss was the idea of sort of reinventing yourself, and I think that's something you guys have done a lot throughout your career. But before we sort of get into that, I want to, just so for anybody who's not familiar, if you guys can talk a little bit about sort of the differences between the two of you and how you guys work as a directing duo. I don't know, so maybe Ron can start.
Sure. Well, I mean, Dave and I are both trained fine artists. I started in university as a painter, and Dave was a printmaker, and somehow we discovered the internet and kind of developed a different skill set. So in that process and through the incarnations that we'll go about, Dave is, he's got sort of a printmaker's mind, and I've got a bit of a painter's mind, which when it gets together in other type of forms, it seems to blend well together. So I guess there is a lot of overlap what we do. I guess I would say that maybe I am more of a flat 2D kind of guy, and he's obviously the 3D kind of guy. And
I don't know what obviously means.
Is that right?
You look way more 3D than him.
Is that yeah. From the side, I'm just paper thin. I have no depth. I don't know. Is that accurate?
Pretty accurate.
It's a quick overview, but yeah.
No, that's fair. And it has that dynamic, or I mean, clearly that's influenced the way that you guys work, the different backgrounds. But did you guys have a pretty stable dynamic from the get-go? Sort of, I'm curious to know, like, sort of how you divide up the work besides like 2D and 3D. But then also, I'm curious to know if that's sort of something that has been consistent throughout your career, or if that has evolved over the years.
I think one thing I think, and this has been the case with pretty much, all the people we've worked with over the years in the different incarnations that we've had, is with our sort of founding people, Randy and I, who's in the background. We're all, art school kids. We grew up in a studio setting. We learned how to collaborate well with each other and feed off each other's sort of work and process and stuff like that. So it was sort of a natural evolution for us. And so, some people do that well. Some people don't enjoy that process. Dave and I really enjoyed that process. And, I think where our left brain and right brain type of sort of wavelengths meet, there's a really good connection there. It's we have a lot of trust for each other and our opinion, and each other's opinions, and
like we also have the benefit of having known each other like for over 15 years,
high school,
and working together.
Yeah.
So you guys knew each other before you started working together for a while.
Yeah, very
yeah.
much.
Yeah.
So maybe talk a little bit about, like, we'll take Crimson Peak as an example, just so that, again, to give everyone a bit of a flavor, like what was the division of labor between the two of you when it came to that project? And I don't know how many people have seen the Crimson Peak opening title and main title animation. I see some people have nodded their heads. People looked at the Facebook page, hopefully.
Well, I think we're like very on the box people. We like to work. We like to do everything, and
that's more. I mean, full disclosure, obviously, that's way more than just Dave and
Yeah,
I working
yeah,
on that
like-
project.
No, it's just the two of you.
I think we work on treatments together. Ron and I are just used to getting together and talking about ideas, sometimes over beers, sometimes just in between jobs. And I just, there's like a little chemistry that is hard to beat. We've tried to do it in different situations, and it always comes back to when we start failing, we go, what is the missing link here?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
so we're always trying to get back to how we started. And so I think the division of labor is like,
Yeah, I mean, I guess in a typical setting, again, I think it comes down to kind of how we, Dave is very much more methodical and process orientated for sure. I sketch kind of in my brain type of thing, so I can like write little ideas down quick and stuff like that, and then we work together to develop those. A lot of the time, it's like, it's based off of what Dave is doing, it inspires sort of an idea, and then so I'll wrap for example, like a treatment or whatever. Like if there's something that we've been kind of jamming on and a style or a particular sort of approach to things, we'll kind of try to kind of feed into the things that we're working on. So it's like it's just sort of the idea of constantly trying to do work and then trying to build on our work. And so I'm trying to build on his stuff. He's sort of trying to build on my stuff. And
I know it sounds like cheesy, but it really is true. It's like we really like each other's work so much that, you know, I get so inspired by looking across on his monitors, and we always, wherever we are, we want to make sure that, you know, we're able to see what each other's doing at all times. And
right, and in your current incarnation as a production studio, you have other directors as well. Do you find that you do the same thing with them? You kind of look at the work that they're doing and sort of get inspired by that, and vice versa?
Yeah, totally. I mean, I think, you know, I like working with people who are awesome at shit, you know, like, and you know, you don't, unless you have you know, some influence beyond going onto a website and looking at what the latest thing is. It's tough to kind of just keep yourself honest about your work, and you know, I love that feedback and having that feedback and that partnership, and whether it's from, you know, Dave and I or whoever we're working with, you know, we feel really fortunate to do that, and we seek that out. We've always sort of enjoyed that process. Again, to go back to that studio idea, it's just like, right. You know, it's sort of something that feeds our work, and not everybody needs that, but definitely it's what I need, and I think what Dave needs. So, and
interestingly, Norma, who's one of our directors, she goes back even kind of before me to the incarnation of IAMSTATIC. So it's very family based. We still, you know, like it's true. It's like, you know, it's the way it is.
Yeah, so that's a good segue actually to how it started, because I think one of the reasons why I thought it would be really interesting to talk to you guys, and something that I've been sort of dealing with in my career, is this idea of having to sort of reinvent yourself and kind of pinpointing the moments where you need to kind of pivot, and sometimes those are, you know, they hit you in the face. In my case, I feel like that was the case, but in some other instances, it's not. It's a little bit more subtle. So maybe you guys can talk us through a little bit of the history and the evolution of IAMSTATIC, and you don't have to. Doesn't have to be super in depth, but just so that everybody kind of gets an idea.
Yeah, that'd be a long story. Well, I guess here's a quick thing. So I don't know if anybody of you guys know who James Patterson is. He started this is during the sort of like the first step of the great Flash boom type of thing. So he was in my first drawing class at NASCAD, and he introduced me to Flash, and that was sort of the big kickoff. You know, there were a lot of amazing people doing very exciting things on the web. It was, you know, when hackers was cool, right? Like 28.8 modems and shit. Like, it was great. And, you know, everybody wanted like custom interfaces and hacker handles and shit. And it was awesome. And so it was during that time. And then we, you know, being in a sort of an art school environment, we were like, you can bring art to the internet and kind of have these online galleries. And so we started, you know, fucking around with Flash and doing this kind of online stuff, and figured out somehow to put it online, and then we just decided to start a website along with I was actually in Randy, who's in the back. I think it was in his,
Randy,
in his
wave your
in his like totally awesome, but the shittiest bachelor pad you've ever seen. One room bachelor pad. I think Dave, you moved in there afterwards, didn't you? Into that place after?
I've been in a
few
places.
It was, I think, you know, I don't know, beers in, and talked it out and came up with some name called IAMSTATIC, and that was 1999, and registered a .com, you know, like that was a big sell. It was like buying a house back then. So like on student money, that was that was crazy. And yeah, and then we started sort of just being a website that designed experimental interactive interfaces, and met all these people like Chris Milk and Norma and all these amazing artists who were doing great illustration and animation, and coming up with themed shows, and they would do pieces, and then we'd put them online, and so on and so forth. And then we're kind of wrapped around that whole sort of first version of the internet stuff with like Gmonk and Joshua Davis and PressTube and all that kind of stuff. And back then, if you had like a site that was kind of hot, you got sponsored by a host. And so, you got wrapped into
the early influencers.
Yeah, exactly.
It was also the time when
we still don't pay for we still don't pay. Like, we're just like lifetime members, like hosting for a media temple. I think they just forgot, like we're like
totally forgot.
Like we're just in some like tiny little server spot or something, and every once in a while we just get a notification that they're updating their servers. I just keep thinking that they're just going to pull the plug, and that'll be the end of it. But so I recently downloaded all our shit off of there because I know it's coming. They're going to be like, who the fuck are these guys? Anyways.
They're going to see this, and then they're
yeah. So I mean that was that, and then so just by doing that kind of art stuff, we got sort of headhunted out of university to work agency side at McLaren back when there was like interactive departments before there was such things as digital. It was just called interactive, and we went there as designers and animators and experimental programmers, and then we were working together in university. Dave was a year behind us, so Randy and I started there, and then we brought Dave, and then we brought another friend over, and then we met some other guys, and then there was sort of the initial group of 4 or 5 of us.
Was there a sort of a moment there where you guys had to make a decision, like, okay, we're doing this website thing, now we got to go agency side?
Like all decisions, it seemed like it was kind of like there was a change happening, and you kind of had to do a shift. So at the time, we were there, kind of disrupting, as the kids say these days, and they were merging with the other part. They were sort of folding interactive with another department, and yada yada yada. And our creative director at the time and us just decided to go and leave and start our own shop. So we jumped ship, and we started a production company. It was an interactive design animation production company in Toronto called Electric Company, which nobody in this city was prepared for on the agency side. They're like, "What is this? We're not messing with this. This is stupid." But so we did that, and fortunately in the U.S. they were much more into that, and so we did a lot of work out of the U.S. and for years and years, and we did that for 7-ish odd years, and we repped a bunch of directors, a bunch of the people we worked with. As IAMSTATIC at the time came on board, and there was a ton of animation illustrator directors and stuff.
So it was kind of similar model to what you currently have.
Kind of, yeah. But not really a studio setup. It was just groups of individuals, and I guess IAMSTATIC was just a name, right? It was 4 of us, and we made stuff, but we weren't really a company. We didn't, we were just kids, trying to figure some shit out. So faking it until we made it. Doesn't rhyme as well that way, does it?
Faking it till you make it.
This was back when like the race to make the best load bar was.
Yeah. That was
like,
it. Yeah.
Who has the best loading bar?
That's back when you used to get like $70,000 for an end tag. Like that was those are good days.
I was born way too late.
We came into where like making code like a ball that could bounce around a screen was cool. It was like experimental and code based, and it was just that was the interactive stuff. I guess I should say that we pivoted from purely interactive type of stuff, online stuff, to more traditional linear broadcast work.
And that seems to be sort of, and we had talked to this privately before, but also like that seems to be sort of the opposite trend of what's happening now. Like there's a lot of traditional directors, traditional production companies trying to kind of figure out how to do work on the digital side or the interactive side. And you've got especially directors I've seen kind of bounce around and try to figure that out, especially with VR and whatnot. What made you guys want to go? Did it feel like you were going the opposite way? Like, did it feel like you guys are going?
No, not at the time. I mean, I think
we wanted to be a little more like story driven and tell some stories, however successful that was. But I don't know. I think like
how many people here work digital? Interactive, yeah. I mean, it's very asset, like it's a lot of deliverables. It's a big pain in the ass, honestly. It's great, but it's but it's not. There was sort of a prestige about doing commercials, or being like on that side of things at the time. Like oh, they're just some sort of like coding kids, and they're just kind of.
And honestly, coding for me got too complex. Like I just it didn't feel
fun anymore.
Fun to me. So. Yeah. Like I had to just figure something else out. I was not good at it.
When the novelty of Flash went out and people actually needed to like see shit and read shit and copy and get actual information, and it wasn't just like
you have to share your code.
Splash screens were like people like skip. That's when we knew like our time's up.
Splash screen?
Our time's up. It's time to get into something else because people figured that nobody wants to do this online.
And how quick was that shift? How quick was it from was that kind of a gradual thing where you guys realized it over time? Was it conversations that you guys were having?
It was just we were playing, and then the play turned into work. And Dave and some of us started picking up 3D, and some of us started picking up 2D, like After Effects.
And at this point, there was still 4 of you in the IAMSTATIC.
Yeah, for sure. And then
they killed the other 2.
No, one of them's here.
One of them's right. One of them's right there. Still here. The other one got killed.
The other one? No, the other one, no. He almost killed us. No, he's doing quite...
No, he literally almost killed us.
Maybe he's watching this live.
I love you, John.
If you're watching, I love you, buddy. So that was sort of that evolution. And, and we went... Essentially, at the end, we were just motion, and we were motion.
I don't really remember the switch. I remember we made a 3D... Randy might know, a 1 minute or 2 minute 3D piece that is literally the worst thing that would. Maybe we should show.
We'll post it.
We'll post it.
We'll post it.
It's the worst.
We'll post it for you guys.
We just jumped in. We didn't know 3D. Ron thought
it was a music video for a friend's band.
And you thought the tessellate button was the coolest shit.
Yeah. I turned like a box into like
Ron's like, I'm going to make this building. And it ended up being like 50 million polygons for like this.
That's why I stopped doing 3D.
Why are these renders so long?
Yeah. Oh, God. Yeah. Anyways, it was ambitious, to say the least. It was ambitious. And whatever. I mean, who gives a shit, right? Like, be ambitious and screw up and fail. We learned probably half of the lessons we had to in just that one little project, and
I think that's something we've carried through is like we just jump in on a project, a personal thing. I think everybody knows and does this, like make the work that you want to make, and we've stuck kind of by that. And I think hopefully it just keeps getting better each time and easier each time, which is kind of a nice thing. I feel like it's not...
Well, you learn.
Easier, I imagine, not from a technical...
You actually learn how to use the tag, that you've now paid for, or, and all that kind of stuff. But, yeah, I mean, so we did that, and then basically that was kind of what launched it. There was also a show, I forget what year it was.
This was still Electric Company.
It was Electric Company, yeah. And then
what year was this, just for context?
I don't know. I don't even remember.
Okay. Into 2000s at some point.
2000s.
I would hope so.
Yeah, for sure. And then I guess after Electric Company, is that enough for Electric Company? And IAMSTATIC, yeah. And then so we, because 2008 happened, and that sucked for everybody. And it was just kind of it was just one of those things. U.S. was tough, and U.S. work, and everything was we could have been fine, but it was just sort of an opportunity for us to evolve.
Did you ever consider moving out there? Because you mentioned a lot of the work that you guys were excited about was coming from the U.S.
No.
So that was
I almost moved there in university
before all of this. Actually.
Before all of this, yeah, I was gonna move there. I got headhunted to go to a .com during the .com boom.
Man.
Yeah, thank God I didn't. But that sounded amazing at the time. But
So what kept you here?
Well, just I was in school, with my now wife, obviously, and that was one of those big life-changing things. Right. And I
don't think we ever thought of it, honestly.
Yeah,
right,
yeah. And then going down there,
felt the pressure from those
we don't need now you don't need really to go down there, but so anyways, 2008 happened, and it was a good time to sort of re-examine things, and we just decided to kind of Dave and I guess, had a different idea of what we wanted to do to partners at the time, and we wanted to be more studio and less sort of just, and then.
Well, what was the alternative? Like, what was without going into
the
personal
details,
it was what were the other partners wanting to do?
Well, I guess, we were very sort of, we just had a different idea of how things should, be run.
Yeah,
so it was fine, but it was just like one of those,
by the seat of your pants at all times, and we didn't want that anymore.
Right. So you wanted a bit.
We wanted to grow. We wanted to grow a bit and have more of a pipeline and do all that kind of stuff. So, so after that, what did we do? We left. We moved down a place down the street where the FITC building is and hung out there for a while.
Right there.
Just as him and we worked as just a directing team as IAMSTATIC, got back to IAMSTATIC. Then we were doing that for a bit, and then we...
Did you guys ever consider, like, I don't know if this is the best word to use, but rebranding at that point, like not going as IAMSTATIC? It was like, we've done IAMSTATIC, we've done a bunch of company lists.
We did do that at one point.
Okay.
Yeah. This is the next step.
That's the next one.
Sorry.
Next one.
Jumped ahead, guys. I'm sorry.
So yeah.
Shut the fuck up.
So after that, we were approached to start a little company with another organization in the city who are no longer around. But so we did that. It was a company called Township. They just wanted to sort of be IAMSTATIC, but we kind of I don't know if this was a sign. Maybe we should have known. We were like, nope, we're not going to be called IAMSTATIC. We'll be called something else. So we just kind of like that's ours. You're not touching that. So we so we had a studio for a little bit.
Where we met some fine people.
Josh McHugh was in here. Yeah, Josh came and worked with us, and we did that. It was tough, and it was good, and there was good times and bad times, and then.
But I think again that's where the slip happens, where we lost track again of who we are.
Yeah.
How we got there, and the temptation.
Well, there was always the pressure of starting something new and doing whatever you can to do it, and then because of that, Dave's doing this and I'm doing that, and we're all trying to do everything, and because of that, our process got disrupted, and because of that, we weren't having fun, and the work wasn't as good, and all this kind of shit. And so, what happened was with that, not to get too down the road, the parent company ended up getting bought out and this and that, and they were folding again. So it was one of those situations again where something was folding into it, and we had to make a choice of whether or not we wanted to be a part of it or go back. And we were just like, well, we kept this out. Let's
to the closet we go.
Back to IAMSTATIC we go. Old safety blanket, and so that's what we did. But talk about like a great educational process. For what we need to do to be successful as we are, but for us to enjoy what we do, that taught us more probably in 2 years than we knew going into it. So it was a great.
I feel like that. I mean, it's not a failure, but that like
it's okay. It was a failure.
It was a failure. It was. I feel like that failure has now like made me very aware on projects that we do, and anything we do, I always like check in and I go, what is the core of what we're doing? Am I talking to Ron enough? Are we like it's just helped us, I think.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I mean, so I guess these are, how many years is this now? So this is like, we'd probably be 9 years, almost 10 years into our career at this point, from sort of like whippersnappers out of university to, grizzled vets, I guess,
That's all it takes.
Yeah.
10 years.
But so in the 10 years, we'd been in sort of 4 different situations sort of in our careers, all kind of just doing the same type of work, but in like 4 different ways, in 4 different situations.
Pretty different mediums too. I mean, the Flash stuff was very
certain
type of experience, and
yeah.
now you're talking about doing
for sure
more traditional directing work. And then I guess from there we're just going to fast forward a little bit to the Crimson Peak time.
Yeah,
right?
and then so we were kind of like, you kind of get beat down from certain things, and you can't see sort of the big picture at the time. So at that point, we're just like, okay, so we need to go back to what we love, and we just decided as a directing team to work together, and we worked with some amazing. This is kind of awesome, how things work out. But our EP Cynthia somewhere sort of
she's checking email,
caught wind of all this and sent us an email,
stuff.
and she was at Topics at the time and said, do you want to come in and have a talk? And so we came in and talked to her and talked to the owners about going in as a directing team and working out of there. So now we're sort of being like kind of repped by them. So we got to go in there, work with a fucking amazing group of people, learned, again, a huge jump in education about process and pipeline and what it feels like to work with like really amazingly talented people.
I was super nervous doing that. Like even after all those years, like it just felt so weird to be like put in this situation with all these like people who kind of knew what they were doing.
Yeah,
like
I was
super
what do I do? Super
intimidated.
Super intimidated. But at the end of the day, we just it like opened this world to us of like, we can be as ambitious as we want, and we can have people help us make this stuff, and we don't have to just do it ourselves on our desktop. Like they have a render farm and and people with skill and, so like really it just really kind of like freed us up to start playing a lot more. And there's no way we would have been able to do the projects that we did without that group of people. Like, Crimson Peak happened because we were at Topics. It did not, there's no way Ron and Dave on our own sitting in a basement would have done that.
We would have tried, but
it would have been different. Maybe it would have been okay, but it wouldn't have been, what it was. So, so shout out to
Topics.
Sure.
Yeah.
And and we were there for some great work and some great times, and then similar story, big changes happening within the organization.
There's some pain in the audience.
Yeah. And once
Back
again,
it
was one of those pivotal times where it was just like, what do you want to do? And Dave and I are like, well, we were gonna go do something else. And then we worked with another great studio in town called Tendril for a little bit and helped them out and they helped us out again. And after, I guess, probably a full almost 3 years of working with other people, we felt it was time to kind of do our thing again. And, we felt like we gained a shit ton of knowledge about not what to do and what to do, and decided now was the time. So
that's great.
It.
All right, so that
brings
gives
us to now.
Yeah. So there's a few
that was
things.
awfully long-winded. I'm sorry.
No, but I think I think people enjoyed it, so I think we're good. Some people are nodding, some people are falling. Yeah, there we go. So there's a few things that you guys have mentioned in that I think are worth sort of pointing out that kind of segue into the other thing that I wanted to talk about, which is, you had mentioned faking it till you make it. You had mentioned kind of going into Topics and having all these people who are now looking up to you to sort of essentially guide them with your vision. I think we get told a lot to sort of fake it till you make it. That's the way to bridge sort of where you are now to where you're going to be. It's like, well, just kind of. But then there's also this sort of nagging, and at least I felt it. I know a lot of people probably know what I'm talking about, but this sort of imposter syndrome idea that you know your work is good, but a lot of people are doing great work. So like, how did you get over that part of it, or do you get over that part of it, or does that still happen?
I haven't got over it, but
I think anybody who pushes themselves to do work always feels it. I think that's just one of those unfortunate side effects of being a creative person. And
just so you guys know, but when we first got here today, Ron was like, "Why is everyone here? Like, why did everybody come?" And I'm like, "Because you do good work, and it's hard. You gotta."
It's funny for me, like in front of clients and stuff, I'm not nervous, but like something like this in front of people you care about, I'm like, "What the fuck? Why did I say yes to this shit?" Like,
not to say we don't care about our clients, Dave. Erase that if you're watching.
No, you know what I mean. Come on.
They're not watching.
No.
Now I forget what the hell I was saying, but
Imposter syndrome. Yeah.
Do you guys find that because you guys work together as a directing duo, do you guys find that you fill in that gap for each other when one of you guys is like, I don't want to be leading the question, but like, do you guys feel like that helps to sort of get over the imposter syndrome sometimes?
Dave always feels it. I always feel it in private, but never show him. And then I try to get him out of it. And yeah, no, I mean, I think, I know.
I'm
it's so
telling you,
cute.
it's a family.
ridiculous,
What would
but,
we do without each other? I don't know.
like I said, yeah, I mean, I don't think, like, if you're not feeling like that, I think you're
I
probably
think
not.
everyone's always wants to show their friends and peers good things.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
there's so much of
It means
it.
you care, I guess,
Yeah.
So...
Do you guys all kind of relate to this? Does everybody kind of okay, I see a lot of people nodding.
Yeah, I mean,
Okay.
it's not debilitating, like,
Right.
Yeah.
I think we talked about this before, when we were talking about taste and stuff like that.
Right.
Do you have trust in your taste? Well, I guess it comes down to that. I feel like I have good taste in things, and so, I've worked hard to sort of learn that part of, if anything, I've done that, but, you're always, of course, nervous. You want to impress your peers. You want to impress your friends. You want to, you want to be. And I think again, this goes back all the way to art school training. It's like when you're working in a studio environment, and you're working with people who you respect. You want them to kind of think you're doing an okay job. So you're always worried about it. Yeah.
Right, but do you find that you have a way to gauge sort of where you're at, or do you guys have a way to sort of level yourself when you're in a situation where you're like, you know what, like, I mean, I don't know, you clearly don't, it's not debilitating for you guys, clearly, because you guys do great work and you can look back at that work, but for somebody like a newer motion designer or somebody coming into the industry, like, how did you get past that when you were starting out?
That's a good question.
Or maybe you don't.
Win some pitches. I don't know.
Right.
Like on a,
I mean, actually, coming here, we found out that we potentially lost a job just today. So I was like, "Fuck!" Not right before this
Fucking
talk,
outta
man. What the hell? No. But,
Yeah.
that's again.
Yeah.
But the one thing I do know is to take that feeling and just put it into the next one. Like,
yeah.
you can't win everything. So
Yeah, no.
I don't know. I can't answer that because
No, I think you did. I think that's great. And Ron, I think you had mentioned to me once that you had that saying, or somebody had given you that saying of like, it's always going to be somebody who's going to like, nobody's going to pat you on the back, so you might as well do it yourself, kind of thing.
Yeah, you know what? It was one of our like TAs in university. It was Dan. Remember Dan O'Neill? And I used to call my work. It's like, the shit that I'm doing. And he's like, you got to stop calling it shit. And I'm like, well, blah, blah, blah. He's like, look, there's going to be enough people who tell you your stuff sucks. Every once in a while, feel good about it.
Is that where the advice comes from you?
Yeah. And he's like, pat yourself on the back from time to time. Like, people are not going to, there's a, I mean, everybody's experienced like the effects of crab bucket and all that kind of stuff. And, certain industries are worse for that than others. But feel good about your wins, and it's all about that, like, don't get too high, don't get too low, and try to stay somewhere in the middle, like enjoy the moments, but don't hang your hat on every little victory, and don't slice your wrist on every little failure. So yeah.
No, that's good advice.
Yeah.
Don't slit your wrist.
Yeah.
And so, and I think we're kind of get a sense of your answer for this already, but like in today's sort of climate where I think there's sort of pressure to be constantly showing people what you're doing. Like I think Instagram galleries are insanely, like everybody has one. I have one, unfortunately. Everyone has this like account that they're just going to post all their stuff all the time. Do you guys, at this stage in your career, do you guys feel this pressure that you see all these? Because I think now more than ever, the idea of being able to discover somebody who has good work, it feels more tangible for somebody who does good work. Do you feel like you have to compete with that at all, or do you feel like you have to be doing that yourselves?
We don't post too much Instagram stuff.
I love Instagram. I mean, I like my Instagram feed is an awesome source of inspiration for me. I barely follow motion stuff. It's like, I think we talked about, it's all other stuff.
I follow like
I don't know if
campsite.
our work. I mean, our work specifically, like Dave and I, and the stuff we do in the studio and stuff is really lends itself well to Instagram and social in that way. I mean, our directors Norma and Haley, they do stuff that's much cooler. I think we post more of their stuff than we even post our own.
Do you recommend that people do that? Like, do you think that matters today? Like,
sure, yeah. I mean, I think it all matters. Like, I think if you think it's gonna get you, if your work shows well on it, then definitely do it. You know, I mean, like we talked. It's a great place to sketch. You know, it's a great place to put stuff up and get some eyes on things. I guess the only danger for me with things like that is that you feel it's like talking. Yeah, I forget where I read this or somebody told me. I think I read it or listened to it on podcast. No, it was before podcast. So
it was on ICQ.
It was on ICQ. No, it was the idea of like when you're planning work, when you want to do something, don't talk about it too much because then you feel like you've accomplished it already by telling people rather than just actually doing it. I think maybe that's a danger of social sometimes, is that you go, I'm going to do this, and then you feel like you've done it, or you show like a little thing and then you feel like you finished it. And
that's how I feel,
it's like overexposure. Sometimes you just like go for the delayed gratification, like wait for it, like, you know, use it strategically, put out some teasers, something like that maybe, you know, but I think if you're focusing a lot on your persona, your social persona, maybe you're not, that's, I guess, effort that's not going into something that's more substantial. I don't know.
I've started I do all my Instagrams on airplane mode now because I never post anything. I'm going to do it airplane mode first. I'm like, okay, that picture looks good.
He cannot commit to the most ephemeral. I'm like, close it. Dave it was so funny. So when he first got like into like social media and Instagram, he put it on like private. And I'm just like, Dave, the whole point of this is like for people to see stuff. It's not just like for me because I follow you. I can see it on your, you know, like there's a whole, you know.
I missed the boat where everybody followed everybody.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, for sure. But there's a place for
we have personal Instagrams too.
Yeah, mostly it's just
kids and tents and
tents and karate and shit like that. So yeah,
that's fair. That's how are we doing on time? We're doing okay? Oh, we got 5 minutes. Okay, 5 minutes before we go to audience questions. Okay, so one last question. I think that's something that we touch on pretty much on every, as far as I know, every episode of Tomo Talk that we've done, talking a little bit about work-life balance. You guys both have kids, is that right?
Yep.
So I'm assuming that was a bit of a shift in terms of the way you work, just because you kind of are almost obligated to sort of figure out your time. Or
it is not the 1960s. Yeah. You're talking about being a dad or work?
No, I'm talking about having kids and
trying to
family and life and not always working. And I think
tough.
Over the years we've just learned to work like faster and smarter and know where pitfalls are and know where, you know, where rendering hiccups might be or what clients may not like. And so let's not try to push that there. We can let's have that win somewhere else. And
yeah. I mean, you know, the work-life balance concept is an interesting thing because people are looking for this like sort of like, you know, like again, like one of those social media memes where it's going to give you all of the answers. Well, what that is, it's so individual for people. You know, what is good for me is different from what it's going to be for everybody here. You know, it's not static. You know, that's always evolving.
I am static.
That's for sure.
True.
And then it evolves. It evolves weekly. It evolves. You know, like, and I think it's just like everything that's worthwhile. It takes a bit of work to figure things out, and we definitely don't.
You mentioned to me you were like a list person in general, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that must have been easier for you in terms of like. It seems like you're the more task oriented, so that kind of helps.
Oh, I don't know about that.
Oh, no.
I'm just no.
Pretty
I don't know about that.
Yeah.
Dave's super task oriented as well. I'm a fucking serial procrastinator, and so like it's a very very
Cynthia's nodding over there.
No, it's tough. Like I need to like, if to get anything done, I need it sort of laid out in front of me, like in a proper format.
I mean, our current IAMSTATIC location is part of this. Like we moved to the East End. We felt
close to home.
Less pressure to be downtown, and we said, we can have brick and mortar somewhere where we can be comfortable with and still do what we're doing. And it's going to sound cheesy again, but we do have each other, which is unique, so
having each other.
We do. We're huggers.
Yeah. I mean, like Dave said, you get older, you work smarter.
Yeah,
you figure things out.
You do not hit tessellate.
You do not hit tessellate. No, but we've also learned how to trust people we work with more as we've gotten older. We can, we work. You can hand things off to people. It's not just has to go. You know what I mean? So it's all those things in combination. And then you figure out your priorities. We like to be home from time to time. When we're in our 20s, we had no responsibilities. We just, you're at the office for like the studio for 20 hours, but you're only really working 5 of those fucking hours. Like you're mostly just like playing ping pong and drinking beer and shooting the shit and like having fun and great laughs, and that's amazing.
You guys had ping pong?
We did. Electric company. Our studio electric company was 6,000 square feet, and most of it was an art gallery. So it was pretty cool. But
that was a fun.
But we lived there because had no place to go. Like my apartment in Kensington was a total shithole. Like I didn't want to spend time in there, right? Like so that's where we hung out. Now we got better places to hang out with, better, with our families, and I was going to say better people. That's not true, but. But you know what I mean, like better people. My kids are better people. But so we hang out there. But it's not to say that we don't. There's late nights. But
that doesn't go away.
We try to make that
Never
the
goes
exception.
away,
Like that's the we don't.
It's interesting too. If you stop yourself from always working, you'll be surprised that you can still get to that same point. You know what I mean? Like 20 hours versus 10 is
everybody knows that like last 2 hours on a burn where really it should have taken you 2 minutes to do something, but you're just like it's so you're not making any headway. Like really you're going to come in the morning and you go, what the fuck was I doing? And then like redo everything anyways because it was terribly done. Or you end up rendering something out and waiting for it to render, and then you sit there and you forgot to put the audio on it or something, we've all done that crap. So really, we just learned to sort of like manage our time better and manage clients better. It's just like, no, you can't have it tonight. You're gonna get it tomorrow.
I also wake up at like 6 a.m. now, which is
you're an animal.
Yeah, well, it's not ideal, but
Yeah.
So hours shift and things shift and.
Cool. So let's turn it over to some audience questions if people have questions. If not, I have a few that people sent me on Facebook as well. But I would like to hear from you guys first. So does anybody have any questions? Oh, Bert over there.
You were talking about pitfalls and working smarter. I think one of the things more recently that I've been finding problems with is just the iterative design process, as far as like having infinite options and never having to commit to anything with like procedural kind of workflows. Do you guys face those problems, and how do you
Personally, I'm not a huge procedural fan because of that. I like to have a clear idea of what I want to make. I don't care if you can change it 100 times up until the deadline. I want to know what we want to make, and we're very clear with our clients always. Here's our vision. Here's what we're making. We're not playing for a month, like we're making something here. This is what we're doing. So it's being very aware of what you want.
Not to say that there's revisions and all that good stuff, but
3 tops.
Yeah. But I mean, it's a part of that, like, we always said like a pitch, when you win a pitch, it's sort of a visual contract, like, here's the stuff, here's our North Star, this is what we're making.
But you're right, that there's a trend right now with that. So it's a scary thing. Maybe I don't know.
What about in like personal projects, like say outside of like by the time you hit that 20th version, you either realize the first one you made was the best one, or you realize that you've lost your vision by that point.
Yeah. I think I guess one thing we try to do is figure out what's the important part of what we're trying to communicate, and if we get there, then we don't need to do more. Like, you know what I mean? We're very specific. We like to work in passes, is what we do. We sort of paint broad strokes and then we refine. Like generally, like if a job, like if we can't get to version 3 of something, you know, we're unhappy. It's not like we can tell how happy we are with the job about how many versions we're able to get to. So it's almost, we tell clients sometimes as well, it's like we should get this like going faster so we can get to the point where we get to fine tune, like, because that's where all the really nice stuff's going to happen. So, you know, if you're spending all this time at the beginning worrying about sort of like these details when it's not time to worry about the details, we're not going to get to the details. We're just going to, you know, like, it's like painting a house, but just like working one corner really well and running out of time, you know? So, so we have a thing that's like written on our thing. It's just like respect the process, and that's our thing. So we have a process that we go through. We know now what it takes for us to make a successful piece of work, and we try to educate our client on that at the beginning. And sometimes they really go along with it, sometimes they don't. But you know, you adjust, but that's sort of our flow, I guess. If that's an answer at all.
No, that's a good answer. Anybody have any other questions? Somebody's got to have a question. Don't be shy. No, nobody has any questions. Okay, I'll go with one of the questions that I got on Facebook. So because you guys run a studio now, I mean, you have in different incarnations, but in your current incarnation, the question as it was phrased to me was, what are some of the main skills that a motion artist at IAMSTATIC has? But I think I reinterpreted the question as like, if you guys were to hire a motion designer, what are you guys looking for?
I think first off, a point of view.
Yep.
Like, I want to see something that isn't trend based, I guess, maybe like something that has a little bit more like a story, a narrative based, like, because we like narrative based work. So we don't need to see something doing a run cycle. We don't need to see a turntable with like some whatever rendering thing you're doing.
What about spinning shoes?
Spinning shoes.
Do you like spinning shoes?
Not so much, no. I don't know. I think something that just does not look like the rest, I guess. I don't know what I would say.
Yeah, I mean, you know, and this is not to say to discourage people. Obviously, there's a lot of kids who come out of schools and, you know, to do this stuff now, and that's amazing. And the pipeline's kind of set up like in a lot of the schools for VFX and bigger sort of studios. You know, we're small and we're sort of boutique-y and kind of have sort of a way, and you know, I guess it's that point of view is, it's just like, what is your little thing that you love, you know?
I want to see cool lighting. I want to see like something that I've, you know, that
it's
I'm like,
much
how the fuck
much
do you do that?
Much harder, you know? to please, but and that's good, and that's one of our sort of good relationships. I just, you know, I think you need to have like someone who has a passion for it, and just kind of, like we always said, like, you want to work with people who love it so much that they're like, you know, like when you used to write your favorite band's logo in your fucking binder, and you know, like you loved it so much, or like your favorite skateboard company, like you just wanted to doodle it, you wanted to be like immerse yourself in it, and that kind of like level of passion and the ability to learn. Like, you don't have to be great at something, but you have to be, you know, like really into it. And obviously, like, some skill is good, but you can learn tools. You know, you can learn. You don't know how you're going to evolve, so there's just that sort of magical element. You know, that you know, that's beyond. You know, my mom said I should go and take a video game course,
right?
Because I like playing video. You know, like someone who, I guess the difference is this. No, but like like say to work with someone who's not just into playing video games, but someone who wants to make video games. You know what I mean? Like a lot of people, this is why I'm using this. A lot of kids are like, all I want to do is just play video games for a living. So I'm going to go and learn, go to school and do that. But what they don't realize is that like you sit in a cubicle in a giant office and like
you
move a thing like this all day long, and then their heart's broken.
Well, we get people coming like I just really want to do title sequences, and it's like
weird. So do I. That's what I want to do too. But in between there, you got to make some balls bounce and stuff, So just a hunger to make fun stuff, and people who work on their stuff on their own and don't need to be directed to do things all the time, like just very self-motivated. I guess I guess younger versions of ourselves.
Yeah, that sounds about right. And I have one other question. I have another question for you guys, but I want to open it up if there's anybody else who has a question. Oh, Josh. Are we getting? Oh, you have a question. Go ahead.
You guys recently are officially repped now, right, in the States?
Yeah.
What was that like, getting into the rep game as directors?
Ooh, good question. You get a point.
It was great.
Yeah, it's good. I mean, when we were a lecture company, we were repped in the U.S. For a company called Curious Pictures, and that was all. And that's how we got all of our U.S. work and stuff. In other versions of IAMSTATIC, we've had sales reps in the States, and that's a much more difficult thing to navigate because we're here and they're there, and then it's just a tougher sell for them to. Still to this day, to like, even though we're right across the border in Toronto, it's like that's a whole other country. But so now we work with a company called Bodega in New York, and they're both actually coast to coast, and they rep us as an animation director. It's great because they've got their whole gravity. They're a huge company. They do everything. They have sound and online and offline animation directors, everything. So I think they even, and that's all of it, right? And then amazing people, great senior people to work with. Again, a great educational process. Every time we go down to work with them, like just how New Yorkers do it. You know what I mean? Like you're just like shit. Like there's just such an energy to it, and. Learn every time we get to do a project with them.
And to follow up on that question, because I know there's some directors in the audience, because I've met a few, and they were. Is that something that you guys were pursuing? Like you recommend going out and finding out who the reps are and showing them your work, or is it just a matter of like they found you guys because you guys are so fucking amazing?
No, there was a lot of effort, and Ron had.
It was work. Oh yeah, there's a lot of.
It doesn't happen.
Unanswered emails. There is. It's.
So you guys approach like.
Well, yeah, and I mean
would approach other reps,
and you're trying to approach the right people. So we've worked with great reps, just like sales reps and stuff. In the past, you get a relationship they're really great. And then, there's people that you try to work with, and often it's not quite the right time, or this or that, or you don't have something on your reel that quite fits in, or they don't know what to do with. So it's a lot of like right place, right time. A lot of the time, I mean, there's no point in getting in bed with a company like to rep you or to do anything if they don't feel like they can get you stuff and help you grow. Like their job is to develop your work, and obviously they want to make money off you, but they also want you to be successful, and so it's all just about all the things coming together. But definitely it's a long search. It's not nobody just sort of like comes out of nowhere. It's
plucks you from
we're not
obscurity.
We're not Jean-Michel Basquiat or something like that. We're just slugging away and trying to reach out to some great companies who've got great people, and and a lot of like, oh, we like your work, but we're full right now. A lot of those conversations. And ultimately what happened with Bodega is that we talked to Bill Hughes, who's the EP at Bodega, and we kind of known he's been around in the industry. He's a very well-known guy. He's amazing. And we had kind of had talks when he was at a different company And at the time, they went through a bunch of changes, and it wasn't. And I found this out later. He's just like, it wasn't fair for us to bring you on, even though I wanted to bring you guys on. And so, at the time, we were just kind of like, like nobody likes us. And then you find out this other stuff, So you don't know what's happening under the hood, really, and behind the scenes. And then, this was just the right time again for it. We got our thing going, and we got sort of the production, half studio, half production model that we're doing now, and it just all seemed to fit into place. So
that's great.
Yeah.
Any last questions before we wrap up? No, we're good. All right, we're gonna get drinks. Where are we getting drinks? Watson's. So that's very important.
Sounds smart.
Yeah, we're gonna go get smart at Watson's, and then you guys can ask these guys questions in person.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much, everybody.
Thank you, everybody.
IAMSTATIC. Thank you, Project Spaces. Thank you, WMG Cinematics. Thank you, or VMG Cinematics. Thank you so much, guys. Have a good night.